I thrive under pressure, yes. But I also thrive under sunshine, under joy, under warm hugs and creativity, morning coffee, a strong community. I can thrive under most things. I'd rather much thrive in love. And that was tweeted by Joel, aka MAG. Hello everyone, and welcome to the first podcast episode of the year. And I think, is it 3 years we've been going for? We've been going for 3 full years. I think the anniversary was the 1st of January. And I forgot to actually post about it. But I think we've been either 3 or 4 years we've been on this podcast journey. And I want to say 3 years. And honestly, like, I love recording. I do enjoy kind of scoping out episodes and stuff. And I'm really happy that I'm able to come here today and record this episode because I'm actually going on holiday. So by the time you listen to this, I'll be on holiday. And it's the first holiday I've been on in 3 years. And honestly, I have been like climbing the walls. I've been very anxious as well. And I'm realizing that, you know, I've come from being this person who would go on holiday 2-3 times a year to actually having everything centred in the UK, obviously with the pandemic and everything, and then not actually finding the time to go on holiday. So I had a bit of a meltdown and I was like, I need to book somewhere. It was literally out of the blue, random. Kay was unavailable to come and now he's become available, but he's now got other plans and I'm actually going with a friend. And honestly, I number one, you know, I holiday with Kay, and I've holidayed with Kay before the pandemic, but I definitely encourage like individuality, and I've always said that to operate also in your own identity. It's not always husband or wife every day. Sometimes it stands independently and also come together, and that's for me also what I think creates unity in a relationship, when you can stand on your own but equally understand the importance of your unity with someone. So yeah, I'm going on holiday with a friend, and where I'm going, I know people who have moved out there, so I'm gonna, you know, I've reached out to them and I'm gonna meet up with them and things like that. I've been a bit anxious about this holiday, and before I share the reasons here, I kind of want to do the holiday first and then come back and have that conversation with you guys and really speak on it. But I just feel very grateful to be able to travel, to be able to afford the holiday, and to be able to go on holiday in luxury, relaxation and soft life. So that is the theme of the holiday. Relaxation, soft life, and just really just resting. Rest, relaxation and soft life. That's what I'm doing. And I'm unapologetic about it. I work hard. I've been working hard, and I deserve this holiday. So I'm really going to enjoy it. So yeah. Anyway, where should we start? Okay, let me open my notebook. Okay. So Harry and Meghan. Obviously, I've spoken about them on this podcast episode before, but since then, I know that obviously Harry has given an interview with ITV, I believe, and also he's released his eagerly anticipated, controversial, you know, book called Spare. I pre-ordered the book ages ago actually, and I've started listening to it. And I will say that Harry has a very soothing, audible voice. It's really, really nice. It's really relaxing. So I'll probably listen to the book on the plane, or on the beach, whatever. And the bits that I have read or listened to through Audible, I'm going to be honest with you, I think there's a couple of things I think about Harry in this book. I think the first thing is this is his opportunity to speak in his own voice independently of Meghan, and I think it's always been important that he stood independent of her, because she cops the blame for a lot, when I think people don't really understand that Harry been wanting to escape that family, the clutches of that family, and him getting married to Meghan gave him the opportunity, the strength and the encouragement to stand in his truth. A few people around me have kind of, I don't know, been a bit negative about the release of the book, and I think it comes from that stereotype of what family is, and family is supposed to stick together, and you're not basically supposed to speak out and things like that, and all that does is continue to perpetuate the cycle of trauma. And I think for him, he has to speak very publicly, because a lot of his experiences have been public. I think the saddest part of the book is where he basically says he was born into a contract with the media. And I found that really sad, because in life we are born into certain contracts, okay, with our families and stuff. But to be born into a contract with the media that you haven't chosen, and the rules are unknown to you, and you've watched that same media basically cause the death of your mother, the untimely death of your mother, that carries a lot of weight, and that's very heavy to carry. I think Harry's story and all the hoopla around Harry also demonstrates to each and every one of us that no family is perfect. You can have all the notoriety, all the money in the world, but dysfunction and trauma exists in the families that have what you believe is everything. And I think that's where the relatability comes from, where you're able to relate to an extent, but never underestimate the role of privilege and the role of privilege and the role of complicit ignorance. And to be honest, I'm indifferent to the monarchy. Personally, I don't necessarily know why we have one. I don't know what role it plays. But I also understand that this is not my country. I choose to live here and I'm a British citizen, but I don't see this as home. And therefore, I don't recognise the monarchy as my personal kings and queens. That's why when I say your king and queen, because it's your to whoever accepts them as their king and queen. To me, it's not it. I don't support a queen. No, I'm not interested in a king or the queen. Or the queen consorts. I'm not interested there. And the way Camilla has been able to navigate, I think is absolutely shocking. Honestly. And it's like the British public forget her role and the demise of that marriage between Diana and Charles, and actually her ruthlessness. And for her to rise up the ranks to Queen Consort, it will always forever be flabbergasting to me. And the audacity is very wild. But listen, when a man marries for convenience and not love, at one point he'll pursue that love. Love, wanting to wanna make a bad man say, sorry. Do you know what the worst part of holidaying is packing? I can't stand it. I hate it. I hate packing. I don't even know if I've packed enough stuff, and if I haven't, when I get out there I'll just buy some stuff, because I don't even know. Upgraded my flights and literally just relaxing. And saying that as well, how do you, TMI, before we get into the meat of this episode, how do you guys operate? So in the winter, men, if you're listening, please close your ears. I can't be bothered to wax or shave my legs because it's cold, so I need warm. So if I shave and everything, the breeze don't enter. So obviously I'm going on holiday, so I have to do all of that stuff. Girl, I was there for ages doing all that shit, because it was a lot. But it's part of the holiday prep. So when I get back from holiday, I am very, very, very busy. I want to add some masterclasses, and we're going to talk about that a bit later on as well. So in March and April will be new masterclasses, and I'm very excited. I posted a question on my Instagram, my personal Instagram, and the Toy Talks podcast Instagram, and I got a lot of feedback, a lot of requests. So the topics have been chosen, and the subtopics to be covered in those masterclasses I've already started scoping out, so I'm really excited, but let's talk about that a bit later. I want to talk about reputation being a form of workplace social currency. And you see, the dynamic of work is different in different organisations. But I've always said to you, the commonality and similarities in organisations is because human beings are very predictable. So you can go to different organisations, or your friends can be in different organisations, and you understand or can relate to their experience because either you're in a place or have previously been in a place that demonstrates that negative behaviour that, you know, that is a point of conversation. So I have 2 contracts. I've told you guys before. One of them is actually coming to an end in 2 weeks. I'm very excited. And, you know, they want to renew me, but they want me to ask them, and I'm not going to do that. Okay, you want my services, you ask. There's a humility in asking. And the way they're positioning it is like, if I ask, I'm begging. And I don't beg for shit. I've had 2 or 3 renewals, and I would have been there 9 months. I think I've had two renewals. I've been there 9 months, and it's enough. Do you understand? Like I've said to you guys, learning from past contracting experience is also knowing when it's time to go. I'm a contractor, and by virtue of that, it's about also not overstaying my welcome. And I know that sounds really weird, but as a contractor, you're an interim. You're there for a temporary amount of time. When you are now there for like 12 months, and whilst it's great because of the money, depending on the organisation, that in itself isn't great, because they stop seeing you as an interim, they stop treating you as one, you get pulled into the politics, and your mindset starts to change, or at least you begin to forget the benefits and the strategic benefits of being an interim. So I have learned from past experiences, but also I police myself. You know, why are you still here, Toya? Like, have you learned everything you're supposed to do? Have you delivered? Like, what more is there to take out of this work, this organisation? Because for me, it's about balance. It's about delivering and also still learning and still being engaged. Like, mentally, if I'm not, why am I there? Type thing. So my other contract, that runs up until May. And I've told you guys in the last episode, Quiet Quitting, that I will be terminating that contract middle of Feb. And obviously they don't know. I'm being strategic and I'm allowing it to work for me. I am taking my work laptop away with me, and I'm taking my work laptop away with me, but it will be pretty quiet next week, so should be fine. But a girl has to get paid whether we are in the country or not, because remote working be really remotely working, okay? So I haven't been made to feel very welcome in this organisation, and I'm not looking to be, but I'm also not looking to be in a hostile environment. And it's unwarranted hostility because I've come in as part of a transformation project. So people are uncomfortable, because what does transformation mean? It means change. When you go into an organisation as a contractor, or even as a perm or fixed term contractor, and you're working on transformation and change usually means labour casualties, let's be real, or a change in the way certain people work, and you're having to critically analyse, you know, the best way to transform something so that the organisation can reach its end goal. And ultimately for transformation, it is about cost savings, that is one of them, but it's not the main focus. Sometimes it's about efficiency and also keeping abreast of the competition. Transformation is also about working in a way, or operating in a way that is keeping up with the way a particular industry is functioning, so like IT, for example. So I've told you about there's 2 women, and there's one crazy one, she works abroad, but there is another one, and the other one is a bit more dangerous because she is acknowledged as the work bully, and I tend to think book bullies are cowards, and they know who they can do that to and get away with. Now, coming in as I have done, I've got a specific project to deliver as part of the transformation project. I've worked in various transformation projects before. This by far is the most hostile, and it's by far the one place where no one knows what they're doing, and I just wonder how everything's been ticking along. Part of the reason why people don't know what they're doing is because a lot of them are in the role due to nepotism, so the experience has been secondary. I've never worked in a place before that calls itself a commercial function, that people in positions can't negotiate basic contracts. I've never seen it before. So part of my role is to do almost like a forensic analysis of their contracts, of their suppliers, do a risk analysis, do a contractual analysis. Then I have to present my findings to a board. And because of the nature of what they do, they're heavily audited. And there is a particular lady, we're going to call her Michelle, and Michelle is the bully. And the thing is, because she roars the loudest, people tend to be afraid of her and they don't want to tackle her, so they adopt an avoidance strategy. What happens with that is when you adopt an avoidance strategy, she begins to grow wings and therefore continues to operate in a space of being comfortable that she knows she's going to get away with it. Long story short, part of my remit is to support the recruitment of staff that will bulk out the team, because the knowledge isn't there, the experience isn't there, and the policies aren't there. So there's somebody that's head of the transformation who's also a contractor, there's me, and that's it. And they were supposed to hire someone else, but I don't know why they haven't, but whatever. So part of my remit is also the roles that are going to be filled, and they're quite senior roles. I am key in drafting the job descriptions, and I have been asked if I would be part of the panel selection, which is quite a big responsibility, especially when you are invested in effecting change through the transformation. My statement of works in terms of what I have to deliver and my deliverables are as such that it really taps into my experience. So for me, I'm enjoying it because I haven't done the recruitment in a while, and this is an opportunity for me to kind of like refresh my memory, go to panel, scoring, all of that stuff. And there's going to be 4 of us on the panel. Now, one of them is a head of department role, and Michelle, I have heard, is now starting to hedge her bets because she's going to be applying. And she started, it's almost like, you know, like the government parties in the UK, like Conservatives and Tories and Green Party and all that, when they start, what's that word? You know, when they start petitioning and they start, you know, advertising of their policies and stuff like that. And this woman has started it. Now, you can work it, you know, when I say bully, you know, quite a generic word, but she's a narcissistic bully. This is the woman that has seen 4 or 5 people out of her team, as in they've left in tears. One of them was out on long-term sickness, and they ended up paying this other woman off to not sue them because Michelle basically is a law unto herself. And every time I ask her for a contract, it is very painful. I never get a straight answer. It's very difficult because if I don't get the contract, how am I supposed to do my deliverables? So if it wasn't directly affecting me, I wouldn't give a shit. Sorry. If it wasn't directly affecting me, I wouldn't give a shit, but it does. And one day, I just had enough. I had just had enough. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be honest. I sent her an email. I says, Michelle, I don't know why it's so painful to get a straight answer from you. But I have requested XYZ contract that you worked on. Nobody else worked on. And rather than send me the contract, you want to walk around in circles and question why I want the contract when you very well know what I'm here to do. I would like this contract, and if you do not provide it to me, when I go to board, I will make it very clear as to why I haven't done this contractual review and risk assessment. Kind regards. Oh, no, sorry. And then the last sentence I said, in order for this project to be successful, there has to be collaboration because the outcome affects you directly. Kind regards. Didn't get a response from her. I later found out that she forwarded it to the CEO. Now, when I sent that email, be under no illusion. When you send an email, you have to understand that it can go to any audience and you have to be prepared for that. That's why I say to you, just, you know, when you're writing things down, understand in your subconsciousness that anyone could see that, and you have to be able to stand behind what you send. So I would never send anything in anger, and we've discussed this before in earlier podcasts, like being emotional and things like that. For me, I stuck to the topic at hand. This is what I need. You're being obstructive. This is the effect, and this will be the outcome. And till this day, I haven't heard from her. So I'm going to board to present that. What she has also been doing is lighting little fires, as I call it, and she's been speaking to some of the stakeholders to undermine the project. And these stakeholders don't give a shit. Like, they're trying to get on with their day to day. They have to do stuff as part of the project, and they've done it. But she's lighting these little fires in a way to undermine the project. And it's not personal to me. She just knows that through this project comes change, and the change is unknown to her. So she's willing to basically scatter everything and put everything in disarray, because that's her tactic to hold on to her job. Her reputation within the organisation is sullied. Like, no one thinks highly of her, and the ones that do are afraid of her. So it's almost like respect out of fear. And one thing I've always said to people is, you don't have to like me. Yeah? That's that likability politics. Liking someone is very subjective, and so, to an extent, can be emotive. You don't have to like me, but you will respect me, especially in a professional environment. And I don't compromise on that. Now, when we talk about respect, what are we actually talking about? It's respecting the fact that I'm here for a reason. It wasn't through nepotism. And I think all of us need to start adopting an understanding of what professional respect means. And I think, I don't know, I think people think because you're a manager, you automatically are respected. And I think people don't understand the difference between fear and respect. Fear because someone's more senior than you and they can directly affect your employment is not respecting someone. And I always say respect that comes from fear is temporary. And it's not the type of respect that I would ever want or entertain. No one should ever have to fear another person. Like, when people cut themselves, they bleed just like you. And I know that a lot of the fear that people have comes from low self-esteem. It comes from a lack of confidence, and it comes from the subservient attitude and subservient views that our parents have had and passed to us. And I want to let you know that no matter what your role is, junior, entry level, senior, mid-management, middle management, whatever, everybody deserves to operate and receive professional respect. Those people who have respect out of fear, if you think about it, they have to keep renewing that fear. So they have to create the fear mongering to renew that fear, because they have their own fear that people will start wisening up to them and they'll lose control. Because what is that fear? It's the ability to control people to get what they want. And Michelle is very much this person. She is not nice. It is widely accepted and known in this organisation. But everyone seems to be collecting blisters on this fence. And I don't understand, because... Well, I understand it because if people are there due to nepotism, they just want to quietly sail through. But you can't ask for transformation and change if you're not willing to affect change in the people that you have within your organisation. Sometimes people just outstay their welcome. It's really just that. But when I've taken a step back to understand why this woman is like this, part of the reason why she's directing some of this at me is because in a lot of contracts she's negotiated, there's a lot of skeletons, and I found where some of the bodies are buried. And what I don't beat my chest, I'm very quiet, I get on with it, but she's going to have a nasty little shock at the board meeting because my findings are substantiated. I'm not just pulling it out of my arse. I'm pulling my findings out of facts, and I reference it. I've got hyperlinks and everything. Listen, I don't have to argue with you. I just know there's more than one way to skin a cat. That's just it. But guess what? So this woman is starting to canvass for this role. She's preparing for this role, and for head of. So she's going to apply for this particular role. And it's not just been advertised internally, but externally as well. So today, the head of transformation and I had a meeting. And we had a meeting with someone else. And he said to me, Toya, I'm really worried that if this woman doesn't get this job, not only is she at the head of department position, not only is she going to make everyone's life hell, but I think she could take this further from a HR perspective, maybe even a legal perspective. So I said to him, speak to me plainly and honestly. He was like, there's no way she's going to get this job. I'm going to tell you right now, Toya, she's not getting this job. We'll just go through the motions with her, but she's not getting this job. I said, okay, well, first of all, I have to pretend like I haven't heard this. But second of all, that means the assessment and rigour through panel has to be tight. You have to operate from a space of, if somebody was to ask for feedback that could lead to a complaint, how do you cover your back in ensuring that that you have made enough notes, taken a lot of comprehensive notes, and the criteria is as such that she hasn't met it. And you have to be able to demonstrate that. Now, you can never advertise a role and say this is external only. I said you can never advertise a job and say because it's external only, someone internal can't apply it without justification. And since you've advertised this role, you can't make it external only because it's too late. It's been advertised for the last 2 to 3 weeks. So now, if you're saying that you want to go through the motions with her, I'm going to be impartial, personally. But I can't erase the fact that I know her and I know the team and you know the ethos and the culture you're trying to cultivate in that team, and she's contrary to that. So whether we like it or not, our view of her is skewed and it will affect the panel. And this is what happens, right? When you have jobs advertised and people internally want to apply. Sometimes organisations already know they're not giving it to anyone internal, and you kind of know that because they've gone external. There are roles that advertise as internal only. If you really wanted to give it to somebody in your organisation, that's what you would do. The fact that they've advertised the role generally is because they don't believe that they have the skill set within the organisation or the team to make it an internal only job. It's common sense. So this woman is setting herself up for a fight. But the bit that she doesn't know yet is I'm part of that panel. She has attempted to scupper the project. She has made life very difficult for me, made the project very difficult. This woman will send a story of emails. I don't respond to her emails. I don't deal with her directly. That's what I've told them on this project. If you want me to stay, I don't deal with that woman directly. And I've never had to take that stand before. I think what was surprising for me is the head of transformation sharing. I don't know him from anywhere. I've only been there for a couple of weeks. But him sharing his angst towards her. And her being so... she's so unintelligent in that, there's a word for it, I don't know, my brain's gone, but emotion, that's it, emotion. She has no emotional intelligence enough to know that, number one, she's never going to get this job. Number two, she's literally holding on to the job by the skin of her teeth. But number three, she underestimated me because she's going to have a nasty surprise when she goes into that meeting on Teams panel and she sees my face there. She thinks I'm beneath her. These times this woman hasn't got one GCSE to rub together. I digress. Your reputation is your social currency in the workplace. And remember, I told you, fear is temporary. So all the people in the panel, aside from me, at one point or another have feared her because I haven't dealt with her directly. And we're talking about senior managers, directors here. But can you see why respect from fear is dangerous because it's so temporary that when you want to cash in on that fear, people will use it as an opportunity to get their own back. And that's exactly what's happening here. They're using it as an opportunity to get their own back and trying to use me to facilitate it so that if there is a challenge, it's airtight because I'm more impartial than them. I understand I'm being used here. But equally, I've got a job to do. I've got deliverables to deliver on, and this is one of my deliverables, and I'm going to deliver. As far as I'm concerned, there is no way she could get this job anyway, because she hasn't got the right attitude. And I've looked at some of her contracts, and for a head of department role, People need to feel that they can trust you and you're a safe pair of hands. And I wouldn't actually I would personally wouldn't trust her with a bag of ice. I wouldn't. She's mad. She's lost it. The type of emails that she sends, she might as well shout and put them all in capitals, because we can feel the aggression, honey. And I'm CC'd in some of these, and I'm just thinking, and this is the same person that was the head of department. Who wants to work with a dictator or a dictator in waiting? Ain't no one trying to do that. I say all of this to say, you really need to be careful about the type of reputation you are creating for yourself. Now, don't get it twisted. If you are calling out something, unfairness, people often see you as a troublemaker, especially if you're working in organisations that are white dominated, male dominated, or has the lack of diversity. 100%. But that's very different from being a office bully, proudly operating in it, and then seeking to use it to elevate yourself, especially when people generally don't like you. I find that a lot of bullies don't have a lot of emotional intelligence because they're too busy trying to invoke fear out of people. And one thing that I will always stand by is this: I'm strategic, and I tell you guys it's important to be that way, because you need to understand what motivates other people. I know in this organisation, I've been hired purely for my skill set, and I get that, and that's fine, because listen, I'm getting paid a day rate to deliver something, and I can do that. But equally, I think something that I find quite disturbing is they could manage this woman out, but they're choosing not to do it, and instead setting themselves up to fail, because she doesn't get this job. I mean, I'm going to be out in a couple of months anyway. She's going to make their life a living hell. Now, there's not much that she can do, but she could appeal a decision and all that. But I've also said to them, you end up getting someone external and you hire that person in, you're going to have to give them a lot of support and backing, because Michelle will attempt to break that person out of revenge, out of anger, and actually to show you that you guys should have hired her. And that, to me, makes for a very dangerous person, because you think she's bad now. The narcissistic characteristics in her tells me that she's willing to go toe to toe. She's willing to meet you on the mountaintop. I've told them. I've put it in writing. Told them. So however they choose to deal with it is up to them. I said to her, I said to them, I'd even put her in an internal risk register. She's a risk. She's a risk because she poses so much of a problem that she causes all the other junior members of staff to be a flight risk. When I said it to them, they all looked shocked. They all looked shocked. It's really strange, isn't it? Because I feel like if Michelle was a black woman, they would have managed her out. I mean, when your race becomes your social currency at work, it just really makes you think about privilege, white privilege, and how white women often operate in that, and how they use their tears and activate their tears to control the narrative in a way that black women could never. Black women could never. I don't think people actually truly recognise we have emotions at work, and that we have tear ducts, and we're having to sometimes operate in a way that is not very true to us. Like, we want to be able to say, no, this is rubbish, or we have to be so strategic, it becomes exhausting, and I know that. But if you want to be able to operate in these spaces, get paid, elevate in your career, you have to be strategic enough to understand how to navigate and do so sensibly and smartly to your advantage. So yeah, I wanted to share that because I just kind of thought, wow, I can never get away with this shit. And I thought for the podcast, I was like, I need to share this because reputation being your social currency at work is so important. But equally, being a person that stands for something, being a person that sets boundaries is a good thing. And my reputation, I know here, is that I'm no nonsense. I don't care. I like that reputation because you're going to think twice and you're going to really have a thought in your mind to really process before you approach me with rubbish. I'm not just going to turn up to your meeting because you've asked me to when I know that's not in my job description. I'm not just going to roll on as you pile on work on me because you think, oh, you know, we've got another body, so we're just going to drown. No, I'm not going to work past certain hours. No, I'm not going to do that. I believe in a work-life balance. And if that makes me a troublemaker, fine. But I prefer peace of mind. But you're never going to be able to criticise my work because my work speaks for itself, and my commitment to deliver because I've been delivering. And that to me is my strategy. Like being able to do what I said I was going to do and do what I'm supposed to do as a form of currency that mitigates whatever, you know, thought you have in your mind. The reality is the proof is in the results, you know? I don't know. I want to call this episode Professional Respect because I definitely think as black women we have to also recognise when we're being used, and it's often a case that we get used a lot, but it's also understanding how you're being used and making it work for you. Now, I always say to you, working in organisations, it's a transactional relationship. I'm not emotionally invested. I wouldn't work there for free. That's why I'm getting paid. That's my attitude. Very black and white, very logical. But equally, you have to understand when someone's trying to use you as a tool to do things that they don't have the guts to do themselves. And you have to have the foresight to be able to anticipate it, but more importantly, to speak up. You have to be able to speak up for yourself. And I have that podcast episode about advocating for yourself and the power of no. Is a separate episode as well. And I would ask that you listen to those episodes in conjunction with this episode because it's so important. And listen, I'm not sitting here saying the workplace environment is easy, but you know what I am saying is that you've got a catalogue of episodes, you've got masterclasses that will guide you and support you as you navigate work. And I think it's equally as important to recognise where your shortcomings are and be conscious to improve them and understand the role you play in an organisation. And you are deserving of professional respect whatever level you're at. And you just have to be able to commit to navigating in a way that is not only beneficial to you, but you're able to get what you need out of an organisation and know when to leave. So I wanted to share that. It is quite brief, but I thought still quite poignant. I have had some dilemmas in the mailbox, but I think what I'm going to do is in the next episode, I'm going to do maybe a dilemma episode and talk about it. So if you have a work-related dilemma, I suggest you email hello@toytalks.com and I will read it out anonymously and advise you anonymously as well. There are two in the mailbox that I know for sure I'm going to talk about next week. A couple of others, I think I need them to develop a bit more before I come here and discuss it. But there is also something I wanted to say. You know, I'm very committed to the podcast and the platform, hence why I put material out. You know, I draw on my own experiences. I speak about your experiences anonymously. We talk about things that happen in the media that affect us as black women. And more importantly, I'm committed to creating a safe space for black women like myself to have these conversations. But I have to also be really clear about something. When somebody writes in a dilemma, it's usually very clear and apparent to me when that person doesn't listen to that podcasts. So when you say I listen to the podcast, I know if you do or not, based on the dilemma and based on what you're saying in this dilemma. And I have made a conscious decision that if you do not listen to podcast episodes and you don't commit to it, I'm not going to be able to help you because I'm not the easy way out. When I have committed to doing podcast episodes and show notes and masterclasses, you then have to choose and commit to your career enough, to invest in yourself enough, to spend the time to listen to those episodes, take notes, get the masterclasses and apply them. I can't do the work for you, and I don't want to do the work for you because you are the architect of your own career and you have to be able to commit to the process of developing yourself, as we all do. And I've always said it, I will do my best and advise to the best of my ability through the dilemmas. But if you don't listen to the podcast episode, or you email me and ask me which episode you're not going to get a response, because what we're not going to do, and I've spoken about learned helplessness in a past episode. I'm not going to facilitate that through this platform. It's not going to happen. I know there's a lot of people who have benefited from the podcast and the platform, who have used the masterclasses and are flourishing in their careers because they share it with me, and I've read the emails out, and I get the DMs, and I know. But you have to make a commitment to yourself. And I feel like some of us are quite lost, in this world of careers, quite lost, and that's okay. And there's an episode called Walking in the Wilderness, and there's nothing wrong with being lost. There is something wrong with expecting somebody else to save you. If you choose not to save yourself, you have to choose the path you want to walk down. And once you choose the path you want to walk down, you have to be committed to that path, or committed to the process of that path. Everything that is provided on the Toy Talks podcast and platform is to support and guide, help and advise as you navigate the world of work and highlight the path of your success. It's your success. You have to own it. You have to believe that you're deserving of the success that you want to achieve. And I can't want more for you than you want for yourself. And I've had to learn that the hard way, because I used to really get annoyed at certain things, and I realised, actually, Toya, you can't want more for this person than they want for themselves. Sometimes some people are not ready to want more for themselves, and that to me has been like one of the learning lessons that I learned in 2022, and it's a lesson I continue to learn. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that. I have been asked on more than one occasion to do an episode on career jealousy and dumbing down one's achievements because one has friends who, number one, aren't happy for them, or you feel as though you're not getting the support from your friend. And I have spoken about that in previous episodes, but really talk about the effects of it, and actually, do you outgrow friendship groups when you climb the career ladder and you're growing? And if you do, how do you navigate that? And that's quite interesting, and it's something that I will discuss. And I have a lot of episodes that I need to record over the next few months. I'm going to be pre-recording episodes as well, because there's a lot for us to discuss. And I think that for me, what has been most important is how you have all benefited from the podcast and platform. I've benefited too, because I've told you guys I find it very cathartic, but also as well, I've benefited because I get the opportunity to be able to provide what I've used as my blueprint as a basis, or at least to inspire you, or to provide context to how, as Black women, we navigate the world of work. I don't hoard knowledge. I'm just not that person. So that being said, I am currently developing 2 masterclasses. One of them is called the Maternity Masterclass. I have been asked on several occasions for a maternity masterclass, from the perspective of a contractor and from the perspective of somebody in a perm role or a fixed term contract. And that's something that I'm currently working on. That will be out in April. I'm also working on the Contractor Masterclass, so Contractor Freelance Consultant Masterclass. So what things you need to consider as part of going into contracting, if that's something you choose to do. So the legalities, so we're talking about Companies House, and I've spoken about some of these things in podcast episodes, but there's just going to be one body of a masterclass that encompasses everything. Within that, I will be talking about maternity as well, and how that operates for somebody as a contractor, how to become a contractor, how to adopt a contracting CV. There's going to be templates attached to that masterclass as well. I've also been asked a few questions about industries as well. So that masterclass is going to be packed, and I'm currently scoping it out, and I will be scoping it out while I'm on holiday. And I asked on my social media as part of these topics, what would you like covered? So people wanted, to talk about the pros and cons and the benefits of working within IR35, outside of IR35, more than one contract. How do you kind of deal with that from a tax efficiency perspective? How do you choose the right accountant, for example? And I'm going to sit here and say I don't have the perfect accountant, but I have an accountant, and the person who's looking after my account is actually very good. I'm very lucky with her. But how do you select a good accountant? So I'm happy to share some of the things I've learned. How do you, what is the preferred bookkeeping? What is bookkeeping as part of being a contractor consultant? So yes, that masterclass is coming. It'll be out in March, and I'll be recording in February. So if you want me to cover a topic that may be within those masterclasses, email hello@toytalks.com. I want to give a massive shout out to Jennifer and Simone, who literally are the eyes and ears of my business, who are the ones that triage, and that's a word that I keep using because Jennifer keeps using it, triages emails to me, who work on the back end of my website, who work on the back end of the masterclasses, who answers all the questions, who tries to get you guys together in terms of accessibility to the masterclasses. And I wouldn't be able to run my business without them. They're amazing, and they have been amazing. And I've recently promoted Jennifer as my executive assistant. She's worked hard, and I loved how she negotiated. She bought a masterclass. Yeah, she did. She bought a masterclass, and I would have given her the pay rise and the job title change purely on what she's brought to my business. And if you're listening to this, Jennifer, as I have told you several times, you're appreciated, you're loved, and thank you so much for all that you do. It never goes unnoticed, as you know, and thank you for believing in me and for your professionalism, but more importantly for your dedication. Simone, you recently joined and you're amazing, and I want to thank you, as I have done, for everything that you do. And I'm so proud of everything that you have achieved and are achieving, and I'm so happy that you guys believe in me enough to stay with me on this journey. So yeah, I've not done that before, but I thought that'd be interesting and important to do. Interesting because I think we need to spend more time telling people what they mean to us, and that's another episode. That's something for another episode. Telling people what they mean to us, and be it friendships, people around you who impact your life. I think that is very important. Life is not guaranteed, tomorrow's not guaranteed, so people should know where they stand with you. Yeah. Also, before I wrap up this episode, I wanted to quickly mention something. So obviously we spoke about Harry and Meghan, and I have to be honest with you, and I wasn't going to say this, hence why I'm saying it now, but I think Harry also represented to me how family trauma truly affects you. He's gone out of his way and out of the construct of what he's been taught to speak about his experience and some of the traumas he's experienced with his family. And I identify with that because I've not hidden my trauma and my dysfunctional relationship with my mum and some of my family members, and I understand why he's speaking out, and I understand that it may not be the conventional way or in accordance to what people think is right or appropriate, but neither is sitting and living in your trauma in the hope that somebody frees you. Sometimes you have to free yourself, and that is going to therapy, speaking up, speaking out, and it is also giving yourself the grace and permission to be able to express how you feel, and in whatever mode you choose to do that is up to you. We're in no position to criticize how he chooses to do that, because nobody was there when he was receiving his trauma talking about how he should be receiving it. And the only thing I would say, and the criticism I would have for him, is I think it was distasteful for him to mention how many people he killed whilst fighting in Afghanistan, because typically that's not really done. And I say that's not really done, but I feel like it comes from validation for Harry. There was no reason why he had to quantify how many people he killed. But he did it because I think that he's always looked for validation from his brother, from the Queen, or his grandmother, you lot's queen, not mine, and from his dad. And I think he wanted to, it's almost like he quantified it just to let you know that, oh, you know, I was fighting in Afghanistan and I wasn't just there as the pampered prince, I actually was in action. And I think that's where that came from. But it's also distasteful because people actually died. And this is part of the trauma of looking for that acknowledgement that he's never received. So he feels that now he has to prove himself, prove his worth, prove that he was an actual soldier and not a toy soldier. Do you understand? And I kind of felt sorry for him, because if you're still in the space where you feel like you have to prove that you are worthy, or it means that you're still operating from that space of trauma. And he needs to be more guided about sensitive topics like that. I feel like Harry thinks that because he has done the work and is currently doing the work and educating himself on racism and racial bias and what they call it unconscious bias, that's a nice fancy bow to put on, and you know, educate himself on racism. It makes him woke, and then it makes him woke across the board. And what he's not realizing is, number one, unconscious bias is derived from racism, first of all. And secondly, being woke isn't nothing to be proud of, because that means at one point you were asleep. So you are susceptible to be asleep again. And I think that education is an ongoing process. Okay? And I will say that he's a bit more self-aware than Meghan. Can Meghan be saying stuff that's questionable? Meghan, I still love you. I think you're cool, but we ain't stupid. But yeah, I just wanted to say that because I feel like Harry demonstrates or caused me to think about, you know, my dysfunctional relationship and how I've chosen to operate my life. And something that I haven't spoken to you guys about is my wedding blessing that took place in August 2022. And the only reason I haven't spoken about it is nothing other than the fact that it was amazing, and I will dedicate an episode to discuss it, especially from the financial perspective, because honey, we saved, not only did we save money, we cut a cloth according to our size, had a great time, and I wasn't paying for crowd. I felt like everyone there was supposed to be there. Anyway, I don't want to get into all of that now, but for me, you know, creating memories without certain family members has also given me peace, because it means that I haven't had to constantly be triggered and constantly have to justify my existence to people who effectively are quite happy to continue to operate in toxicity as a way to attempt to control me. And actually breaking free from that has been not only liberating, it's been cost saving, it has been emotionally saving me, and also I feel like it has also allowed me to exist with independent thought and be able to really see myself as being quite it's enabled me to see myself in a positive way. Whereas certain family members have been happy to take me to an edge so they can control me, and so that I could see myself in a bad way and look to them as my savior. And that's not how it works. Sometimes save yourself. Anyway, I'm going to draw this episode to a close. I'm planning to upload every 2 weeks. That's going to be the plan for me. And centering self-care and all of that. But I'm not going to do an episode unless I think there's poignant topics to discuss. And I've said that before, and I'm going to say it again. If you guys are interested in the masterclasses, they are all available on the toytalks.com website. The CV masterclass, interview masterclass, passing your probation masterclass, the resignation masterclass, the redundancy masterclass, the mother and daughter masterclass, and that's just to name a few. If you are loving the episode, you're loving the podcast, you've caught up on some of the episodes, then share the knowledge, share the podcast with people. You guys have been amazing in doing that, and I humbly request that you continue to share the podcast, share the information, and apply everything that you've learned in your careers as you navigate the world of work. If you'd like to follow me on my personal Instagram page, my Instagram page is Toya_Washington. If you would like to follow me on the Toy Talks podcast Instagram page, my Instagram handle is Toya_Talks. I am on TikTok. My handle is Toya Washington. I will be uploading. While I'm away, I'm going to be recording as well. So I will be uploading. People have been saying to me, Toya, you need to upload on TikTok, and I will be. I feel a lot better now in myself, because obviously I was ill for quite a while, but I feel a lot better in myself, pacing myself, but back to business. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy 2023. I'm hoping that you have all done your vision boards. If you go into earlier episodes, I discussed vision boards, how to develop a vision board, and how to manifest the things that you have envisioned on your vision board, and how to operate from a space of manifestation. So go ahead and listen to those previous episodes where I've discussed it. It's earlier on in the podcast, I think last year when I recorded it, if not the beginning of the year before. Anyway, I'm going to go because it's 12:30 in the morning, and I wanted to pre-record this before I go on holiday. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode has resonated with someone. I hope this episode helps you. Again, if you want to email your dilemma, I will address your dilemma anonymously. Email hello@toytalks.com. Share the episodes, and I wish you all well till next time. My name is Toya Washington, and you have been listening to the Toy Talks podcast.